Hello, everyone. This is Pat Peterson. Thank you for your patience as we got started late today. This is the first filer information session for 2022. This session is specifically for city officials. It is for elected officials, department heads, board members, and commissioners. There is another session in March, also on the 16th, just for filers, but this is for city officials. Let's get started. We're going to start with some housekeeping. Now, today's session is being recorded. Presentation slides and the recording will be available online at the San Francisco Ethics Commission homepage. We will send out an announcement when it is available, and we will also notify your commission and board member liaisons so they will know as well. Please note, if you are an attendee, your microphones are automatically muted during this presentation. Also, the attendee video is disabled during this entire session. We're going to have a Q&A session at the very end of the presentation, and attendees joining on a computer or laptop who want to ask us a question should raise their hand. You're going to select an icon with a hand in it and wait for the host to call your name and unmute your mic. If you're joining by telephone, dial #3 to raise your hand. And lastly, questions can always be submitted through the Ethics Commission's Form 700 support portal. We're going to talk about where to find that and reinforce why it's going to be a good tool to use. All right.
Pat, just sorry to interrupt. Just quickly, you're going to need to share your presentation again. When we went into live session, you have to start that process over. So cue up your presentation.
Thank you. Just a moment. Rachel, some guidance, please.
Do you see the share button at the bottom?
I am in slideshow. Attendees, I apologize.
Click shared button at the bottom and share your screen that you have your presentation open on.
One moment, please. All right, are we shared? Excellent.
You're all set.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Thank you, Rachel. All right, let's move on to our agenda. This session is going to be a little different than what it has been in the past. In the past, we've gone over the Form 700 and the schedules, but so many of you have been filing successfully and you're familiar with what is required of the Form 700 that we're going to shift a little bit this year. We want to highlight our revamped web pages, and what's important here is that they have been redesigned to think about what you as a filer want to know, and if you have to do something, how to do it. We're going to start by talking about our new city officers and employees page. This is a landing page, and it leads off with the state and local ethics and conflict of interest laws and the disclosures and training requirements that you're subject to as an officer at the city. Then we're going to talk about the annual Form 700 filing, which, as a reminder, is due April 1, just like it is every year. That's going to occupy much of today's information session, but we're also going to talk about other compliance requirements. We're going to explore, one click away, the information about the Form 700 Statement of Economic Interest. And now it's set up so that all of your answers are in one place. In one place, you're going to see the law, information about the Conflict of Interest Code that tells you what you have to file, your filing requirements, the deadlines and the exceptions, and then lastly, the consequences of a failure to file by the deadline. And from there, you can go one click right into the Form 700 filers page. It's going to be where you log in. And when you log into your account, it's also going to be where you have the requirement, if you have the requirement, to file the Ethics and Sunshine training. You'll also be able to request a password if you need one and find the answers to what you have to disclose, and it's all on one page. And lastly, we'll show you how at the bottom of the page, you can ask us a question, a reporting related question, or ask a technical support question through our new Form 700 support portal. What's good about that is that there is a team of us who can answer your questions. Technical people, content related people, people who can do both. Everybody's helpful. There's more of us. Please use the support portal rather than emailing us or calling us. And then lastly, we'll close with a Q&A session where you'll be able to ask questions of our Deputy City Attorney. Today we are joined by Deputy City Attorney Anna Flores. Thank you, Anna. And if we can't get to all of your questions, we ask that you submit them to us through the portal. And when you ask your questions, remember, this is a general session. It is being recorded. It's going to be on our website. So keep your questions general. If you have something that's fact-specific that you have to report, put it in writing, send it to us in the support portal. All right, let's get going. We're going to talk first about an overview of the laws that apply to city officers. Again, this is a slight change. We usually start out talking about the Form 700, but the new website is going to be in the order that we're going to be discussing here. And we want to highlight some things that are in process, that are pending, and that we want to remind you of. So let's talk about this easier access for city officers. To navigate there, go to our website, go to Compliance on the banner, and on the pull down, go to City Officers and Employees. On the right-hand menu, you're going to find the following areas that apply to you. It's going to lead off in this order with the Form 700 Statement of Economic Interest, the behested payments, notifications of recusal if they apply to you in your position, reminders about gifts and travel and the rules that you have to comply with, general information about the Ethics and Sunshine trainings. This page is going to tell you when to file. But remember, your training is on your dashboard in NetFile. And then lastly, we'll review some aspects of the incompatible activities. Let's start by talking about the behested payments. So this is a change, and we want to highlight this. Now, on January 23rd of this year, a new behested payments law took effect, and you have received separate communications about this, but we want to review it because it's important. It was adopted unanimously by the Board of Supervisors in December last year, and the new ordinance amends the San Francisco Campaign and Governmental Conduct Code to prohibit elected officials and other officials specified in the law from soliciting behested payments from any person who is an interested party to them. And as a result, the local behested payment requirement that applied previously has been eliminated. So whose activities are covered under the new law? It's city officials, that's you, commissioners, board members, department heads, and elected officials, and certain employees who are required to file a Form 700. On the web page, you'll find a lot of information, but this is a quick summary about who's an interested party. It's going to be a party or a participant or an agent of a party involved in a proceeding regarding these areas: administrative enforcement, a license, a permit, or other entitlements for use that are before your board or commission or department. It also includes organizations that are contracting or seeking to contract with you, with your board, commission, or department, and that includes those parties' directors, officers, or other shareholders of that organization. Now, again, this stuff is all outlined on the webpage. This is just to talk you through it and hopefully remind you to think about these things, and when you want more information, go to our website. It also includes a person who has attempted to influence you in any legislative or administrative action, and an interested party is also, they could be a contact lobbyist, or an expenditure lobbyist who's registered with the Ethics Commission to lobby your particular board, commission, or department. A permit consultant who is registered with the Ethics Commission, if they've reported contacts with your board, commission, or department to carry out a permit consulting service in the past 12 months, would also be an interested party. You'll find on our website information. I know this is a lot. That's why I'm going to refer you to our website, where you'll find information about who's exempted from the definition of an interested party, typically a nonprofit who's authorized by city charter that supports one of our arts and culture departments. It also includes any federal or state agency, or a person who's an uncompensated board member of a nonprofit that happens to be an interested party. And it also excludes a person who's providing a grant to the city or a city department. You'll also find on our website information about the timelines that apply to a behested payment prohibition. And you'll also find an explanation of what is a public appeal, and that includes a request for a contribution that appears, for example, on TV or the radio or a billboard or a message, and that even if an interested party happens to be included in that particular communication, they will be exempted. But again, for the detail to really understand it, please go to our website. The next category that you'll find on our website is information about the conflict of interest rules that apply to city officials. And you'll find information about gifts, the conflict of interest rules. You'll also find information for a link to the Good Government Guide. It is a wonderful guide. It is understandable, it's in English, and it also takes you to the law. It is a one-stop shop. It's a wonderful document. Please check it out. And then there will also be information about your particular department's statement of incompatible activities. Under the conflict of interest, you'll also find information about the recusal notification requirements that you have. And you'll want to refer to this to understand when you have to recuse yourself from any action before your board or commission. The fact that you'll have to publicly identify the circumstances to recuse yourself, and you will have to leave the room if it is a live room, a virtual room. You cannot participate. And then you'll also have to file electronically a form with the Ethics Commission for each recusal, and you'll have to file it within 15 days. Now, again, when you go to our website, all on one page, it's going to have the information about what you have to do and how to do it. And the how is an electronic form, and it's on the exact same page. The next section that you'll have to remember to think about is gifts and travel. This page will talk about the annual gift limit, which you're reporting on your Form 700 activity for last year. And that limit was $520. There are also gift laws that apply for restricted sources, gifts from subordinates, and also gifts of travel. We want to remind you, and this is important, remind you that some departments have statements of incompatible activities that impose even stricter rules on gifts from vendors and contractors. So in addition to these general laws that you'll see on the website, remember to also check your statement of incompatible activities. There is a link on that same page to look up your particular statement. Just generally speaking, it's always a bad idea to accept a gift from an entity doing business with your department. You can always refer to the rules, but if you want to think about how to interact, it's not a good idea. Now, under local law, elected officials are required to file a gift of travel form before accepting a gift of transportation, lodging, or subsistence for any out-of-state travel that's paid for in part by an individual or an entity other than the city, another governmental body, or an educational institution as defined by the tax code. And lastly, there are amendments to the to strengthen the city's gifts and ethics laws that are being considered right now as part of a draft ballot measure and is amended by commission regulations. We'll remind you at the end, but there is a special remote meeting coming up on Friday, February 25th, beginning at 10 a.m. to hear from members of the public on these proposed amendments. For background or more information on this, go to our homepage. It's right on our banner. It's front and center. It's the largest section of our homepage right now. Click on it to find out information about the pending proposals and how to attend next Friday's meeting. Another section that applies to you as city officials is the ethics and sunshine training. Again, you'll find the actual training on your NetFile dashboard. This page is going to talk about how it's filed electronically, how it has the same assuming and annual filing requirements as a Form 700, and the fact that it's not required for the quasi-state entities because the Sunshine Ordinance doesn't apply to them. And then lastly, the section that you'll want to see is the statement of incompatible activities that we referred to before. Again, your department's statement of incompatible activities may have stricter rules than just the general rules that we've been talking about for gifts and travel, other gifts. Please review it. It is distributed to you annually. Please review it and refer to the Ethics Commission's regulations for additional explanations and examples. For example, you'll find in our regulation topics information about decisions involving family members, disclosures of personal, professional, and business relationships, gifts from restricted sources, case studies, examples. It'll talk about gifts from subordinates, prohibitions on dual office holding, compensated advocacy for certain members of boards and commissions who by law have to be appointed to represent a certain profession or trade, or a business or a union or an association. Find the details, find the information about what it means to comply with the incompatible activities requirements in the San Francisco Ethics Commission's regulations. There are links to all of this information on the same webpage for incompatible activities. So that is just a summary of how it should be easier to navigate the Ethics Commission's information about compliance for city officials. So let's jump in now to the reason that we're here, which is to talk about the annual Form 700 due April 1. We're going to do just a quick history on why we file the Form 700. I know this is familiar to many of you, but it always helps me to renew the reason that we do this. So the annual statement of the Economic Interest Form 700, it has to be filed by public officials and certain employees throughout California every spring. It's filed within 30 days of assuming office and within 30 days of leaving office. And it's a form that provides transparency and it ensures accountability two ways. So it provides necessary information to the public about our personal financial interests, and it ensures that we are making decisions in the best interest of the public, and it's not enhancing our personal finances. It's also a reminder to each one of us about the potential conflicts of interest that we need to abstain from or avoid participating in when we identify a conflict of interest. State form administered at the local level. So who files the Form 700? It's filed by elected officials, department heads, and board members and commissioners. Each of you files with the Ethics Commission. For elected officials and certain commission members, your forms are also transmitted to the state, and that is handled by the Ethics Commission and the e-filing system. It is handled on your behalf. And as we have reported in the past, some of you are also employees. In the past, you have filed on paper. Now you are filing electronically. All designated filers, all former paper filers are now filing electronically. Again, if you are in a dual role where you are a board member commissioner and you are an employee, you are filing only one form, and that one form, because of NetFile, is going to list all of your positions. You will be disclosing at the highest level required. Just a bit about the requirements and the due dates. When you assumed office, you filed within 30 days of assuming office and you reported for the past year so that members of the public will know as you start whether or not you had any conflicts in the past 12 months that may influence your current decisions. You then have, every year thereafter that you're in office, an annual Form 700, and it's due no later than April 1st, 2022. When you leave office, you are filing within 30 days of leaving any disclosable assets that you held in the current year, the current portion of the year that you were in office. There is an exception, and you would have received this information in your welcome email from us. But if you assumed office in the last quarter of any year up to the date that the annual Form 700 is due, you skip the filing for the current year and you file the following year. So if you assumed office in between last October and April 1st of this year, you don't have an annual due. You'll just file your first annual, April 1st, 2023. So this is a reminder that you're filing electronically. You'll file electronically using NetFile. You'll receive separate notifications from us about how to do that. Please complete it by April 1st. Paper submissions are not accepted. This is a reminder that the public has access to all of your forms. On the Ethics Commission homepage, there is a disclosure section where your PDFs of your filings are available with limited redactions. The data is also available on our website as a data set with limited redactions. But If a member of the public wants to see your unredacted form, they can. Information that is redacted includes your contact information and certain reportable assets, for example, income sources. That information is available on our website. Late filing and enforcement. There is no provision in the law, none, to extend a Form 700 due date. Now, if the deadline falls on a weekend or a holiday, the statement's due on the following Monday or the following business day. There is a late fee that applies for late filings. It's $10 per day, up to $100 for each required filing. On top of that, non-filers may be subject to disciplinary action or enforcement actions with potential fines of up to $5,000 per violation. Information about the failure to file by deadlines is available on our website, as is all of these sections that we are going through. In addition, there is potential discipline for a failure to file within 30 days of receiving notice from the Ethics Commission. And it may include disciplinary action by your appointing authority, and it can include removal from office. There's also a required disqualification if you do not file a required filing by the due date, and that includes Form 700 as well as the Ethics and Training, Sunshine Training, then you are disqualified from all participation in and voting on any matters that appear on your board or commission's meeting agenda. You are disqualified. Once you file, you are automatically reinstated. There is nothing to follow up on or submit. Just know that you cannot take action until you get your filing submitted. If you have not filed, there must be a public announcement made at your board or meeting, your board or commission meeting, and it must be recorded in the minutes. It will be made by your commission secretary or your department head at the meeting. A Form 700 can be amended at any time, and it is without penalty. It's important that you amend the form according to the year that you made the filing. So in your e-filing history table, find the filing for the year that you want to amend, click amend, and only the page that you amend will be visible. Talk about the Form 700 schedules just briefly, because this information is available online. This section is just to highlight the topics for you to be aware of. There is a great deal of information both on NetFile and on the Ethics Commission's homepages about what to file. This is just a highlight. Once you remember that these are the topics, you can always find the detailed information that you need on our website. Let's talk about the disclosure category first and why it matters, because this is the area that tells you what you have to report. The reason you want to be aware of your disclosure category is because you may only have to require, you may be only required to disclose certain specific investments. If you're in the departments listed on this screen, you are one of the departments that has a limited disclosure requirement. Otherwise, you are disclosure category 1, which means that if you have a reportable asset and there is a blank on the Form 700 where you can fill something in, fill it in. Talk about the conflict of interest code review. just briefly. This is the category where you will find your disclosure category and what you have to report. It is updated every 2 years, and it's a process that is conducted by the clerk of the Board of Supervisors, the Ethics Commission, and the City Attorney's Office. Now, it's a legislative process, and it is subject to approval by the Board of Supervisors. The current amendment became operative in February of last year. It's done every 2 years, so just FYI, this year, each department is going to be asked to review their conflict of interest code, listing what their designated filers have to disclose. And it will go through a process of review by the Board of Supervisors. It'll be approved by the end of 2022, and it'll become operative early next year. So as an example of how to find your disclosure category, this is what a member of the Ethics Commission would see. They would go to the San Francisco Campaign and Governmental Conduct Code, and they would find their department, the Ethics Commission. They would see in the code itself the disclosure category and description for the position, including definitions, and the if you have any questions, you would ask your filing liaison or the Ethics Commission about questions about what you have to report. You'll also find your disclosure category on your NetFile dashboard. Your general reminders, once you know what to report, are as follows. The April 1, 2022 annual filing is going to contain your disclosable assets for calendar year 2021. Remember, know your disclosure category so you don't inadvertently over-report. Generally speaking, your reportable interests are going to include not only your assets, but those of your spouse or partner, and it includes your interests of your dependent children. Again, this is just high-level summary. More information is available on the website and on the NetFile disclosure pages for your filing. Just a quick overview of what's on the cover page. Please don't change this information. It is electronic. It is linked to your dashboard. If you have any changes to your contact information, your position, your department, please notify the Ethics Commission. We will make the changes for you. Please do not make it on the Form 700, even though it looks like you can in NetFile. Please let us know so that we're all in the loop. The section that looks like it's required on the cover page for listing your schedules is filled in automatically by NetFile. If you complete a schedule, it's automatically going to check off on your cover page that you have information to present on that schedule. Let's go quickly through the various schedules, A through E. Starting with Schedule A1, you're going to report certain investments. These include stocks, bonds, and other interests where your ownership is less than 10%. Schedule A2 is going to have similar reports of investments where you own more than 10%. Schedule B is where you report interest in real property, but not your domicile, not your primary residence, unless you happen to use a portion of it for income purposes. In that case, you would report just that section. Schedule C, you'll report income about loans and business positions, loans that are outside of what the general public would be able to access. Schedule D is for the reporting of gifts. Schedule E is reporting gifts of travel specifically, including advances and reimbursements. High-level summary here on Schedule A1, just a few reminders. You're going to be reporting any investments worth $2,000 or more. And if it's stocks or bonds, these are stocks or bonds that you select. They are not managed en masse by an investment advisor, for example. These are specific stocks where you say, I want to buy 1,000 shares of X. And that is why mutual funds are not required to be disclosed. They are managed by someone else. In Schedule A2, you're also going to add the reporting of investments of a business ownership. And you have to report any client that was a source of more than $10,000 in income in calendar year 2021. If you have a trust fund, report not the entire amount of the trust fund, but only the reportable stocks within that trust fund or the reportable properties within that trust fund, not everything. Few quick reminders on Schedule B for interest in real property. There's that $2,000 number again. Report your interest worth $2,000 or more in real property owned within the city, and again, your personal home is excluded generally. Also, you're reporting property owned that's within 2 miles of any city-owned property. So, for example, the airport is not located in the city and county of San Francisco. It's in San Mateo, I believe. But if you own property within 2 miles of the airport, which is owned by the city, you would report that information. You are reporting your tenants' names, and it is not their name is not redacted on the paper filings. Well, the PDF filings, they are not redacted. Note that in the section for mortgages, they are not reportable if they are available at rates available to the general public. Couple of Schedule C reminders about income, loans, and business positions. You're going to report income of more than $500 or more. You don't have to report government salary. It's available publicly. You are reporting income from businesses. That includes nonprofits. Income from the sale of property, and that includes a home or a car or a bicycle. I mean, a bicycle can easily hit $500. You are reporting that income. And the source of income consideration is whether or not the entity that you sold the property to is conducting business in the city and county of San Francisco. You do not have to double report business ownership as employment. That information is going to show up on the net file screen. It is a reminder here just so that you know that it exists. The section on Schedule D reminders for gifts. You are reporting gifts with a cumulative value of $50 or more. You will see that I forgot to delete that highlighting for 2021, but the gift limit for 2021 is $520, and I apologize for this screen. The gift limit for 2021 is $520. Some common exceptions for having to report gifts are gifts that you receive from family members or gifts of informational material, for example, swag at a conference admission. If you walk into a conference and everybody is being handed the same bag of goodies, regardless of who they are, you do not have to report those gifts. Information is available on the Gifts and Travel page of our website, as with all of our pages that we're going through here. And then lastly, your Schedule E reminders for income for gifts of travel. You do not have to report gifts from family members, and you don't have to report travel paid for by the city if the travel is to carry out your official duties. And we're coming to the end here because now we're just going to talk about your filer support and resources. This information's on our website where you will find filer assistance, information about your liaison at your commissioner board, how to reach the Ethics Commission, how to ask us a question directly through that support portal. You can call our main line, but our support portal is where the team of compliance officers can respond to you, whether it's technical or content related. You can always contact the Fair Political Practices Commission. Their contact information is available on our website, and you can also contact your deputy city attorney who is assigned to your department. Please use our online resources, the Ethics Commission website at sfethics.org or the Fair Political Practices Commission's website directly.